Costco sold over $700 million worth of frozen dinners last year to families desperate for weeknight solutions that don't involve drive-through windows. But here's the plot twist that'll make you rethink your entire freezer strategy. Some of their most popular frozen meals contain more sodium than you should eat in an entire day, while others are quietly delivering restaurant-quality food at warehouse prices. I just spent 3 weeks buying every major Costco frozen dinner, analyzing sodium levels, conducting family taste tests, and investigating what you're actually feeding your kids when you grab that oversized tray. What I discovered will completely change how you navigate that freezer section and might save you from some seriously disappointing dinner disasters. At the end of this video, you'll know exactly which 10 Costco frozen dinners are worth your money and which ones are basically expensive cafeteria food in fancy packaging. Some of these meals are delivering flavors that rival your favorite restaurants. Others are sodium bombs disguised as convenience food that'll have your family pushing their plates away after 2 bites. Today, we're ranking the 10 most popular Costco frozen dinners from worst to best, exposing the overpriced disappointments and revealing the hidden gems that prove frozen food doesn't have to be a compromise between convenience and quality. Let's start with the frozen failures that should come with warning labels. Number 10. Green and Sunny Pad Thai, the box versus reality disaster. Taking our 10th spot is Green and Sunny Pad Thai, which proves that sometimes the most appetizing packaging hides the most disappointing reality. At $18 to $22 per tray, this positions itself as authentic Thai cuisine that brings restaurant flavors to your home kitchen. The glossy box photography shows perfectly balanced noodles with vibrant vegetables and rich sauce that makes your mouth water just looking at it. But here's the reality check that'll make you appreciate actual Thai restaurants. Multiple taste tests consistently describe this as tasting nothing like real pad Thai, with flavors so off-target that food reviewers question whether anyone involved in development had ever eaten authentic pad Thai. The sauce is the biggest culprit. Instead of the complex sweet, sour, salty balance that defines great pad Thai, you're getting what tastes like sugary ketchup with a vague Asian accent. The noodles often come out mushy or unevenly heated, and the vegetables lose their texture during the recommended cooking process. But here's what makes this particularly frustrating. Pad Thai should be comfort food that satisfies cravings for bold, balanced flavors. This version delivers none of the satisfaction while charging premium prices for what amounts to expensive disappointment. Food critics specifically call this out as an example of box versus reality. Gorgeous marketing photos that bear no resemblance to what actually ends up on your plate. You're paying restaurant prices for cafeteria-quality Asian fusion that misses the mark entirely. For the same $20, you could order actual pad Thai from a Thai restaurant and get the real thing instead of this frozen approximation. Number 9. El Monterey Chicken Taquitos, the recall roulette. El Monterey Chicken Taquitos claimed the 9th spot by combining disappointing taste with legitimate safety concerns that make every bite a gamble. At around $12 to $15 per bag, these promise crispy, flavorful taquitos that deliver authentic Mexican flavors with the convenience of freezer-to-oven preparation. The packaging suggests restaurant-quality rolled tacos that'll satisfy the whole family. But here's the safety reality that'll make you check expiration dates twice. El Monterey Taquitos were involved in one of the largest frozen food recalls in recent history due to contamination concerns. We're talking about millions of pounds of product pulled from shelves for potential health hazards. Even when they're technically safe, taste tests consistently rank these poorly for texture and flavor. Multiple reviewers describe them as having too much tortilla, too little filling, with a doughy texture that suggests they were designed more for shelf stability than actual eating enjoyment. The chicken filling is often described as bland and processed, lacking the seasoning and texture you'd expect from quality Mexican food. You're getting tortilla tubes with mystery meat filling that tastes like it was assembled by people who learned about taquitos from a Wikipedia article. But here's what makes this particularly problematic. When a frozen food brand has major recall history, every purchase becomes a trust exercise. You're gambling with both your family's safety and your dinner satisfaction. For the same money, you could buy ingredients to make fresh taquitos or find frozen alternatives without the contamination baggage. Number 8. Tyson chicken strips, the chewy chemistry experiment. Tyson chicken strips secure the 8th spot by proving that sometimes the most familiar brand names deliver the most unfamiliar textures. At $15 to $18 per bag, these position themselves as convenient protein that kids will actually eat. Crispy chicken strips that solve the eternal what's for dinner problem without requiring actual cooking skills. But here's the texture nightmare that'll make you appreciate fresh chicken. Multiple taste tests describe these as having a chewy consistency with an ingredient list so long it reads like a chemistry experiment. We're talking about chicken that's been processed to the point where it barely resembles actual poultry. Food reviewers consistently note that these strips have an artificial taste and texture that suggests heavy use of fillers and binding agents. The breading often separates from the chicken during cooking, creating a disappointing eating experience that leaves you questioning what you're actually consuming. But here's what makes this particularly frustrating. Chicken strips should be simple. Good chicken, decent breading, proper cooking. The fact that a major brand like Tyson managed to overcomplicate something, this basic suggests cost cutting that prioritizes shelf life over food quality. Some shoppers report buying these and then throwing them away after one taste, which means you're not just wasting money. You're wasting freezer space and the time spent cooking something inedible. You're paying premium prices for processed chicken that tastes worse than most fast food alternatives and comes with the inconvenience of having to cook it yourself. Number 7. Marie Callender's Chicken Pot Pie, the soggy disappointment. Marie Callender's Chicken Pot Pie takes the 7th spot by proving that nostalgic branding can't save fundamentally flawed execution. At $8 to $12 per pie, this promises home-style comfort food that delivers the warm, satisfying experience of traditional pot pie without the hassle of making it from scratch. The Marie Callender's name suggests bakery-quality pastry and rich, flavorful filling. But here's the texture reality that'll make you miss your grandmother's cooking. Taste tests consistently describe this as having dry, dense chicken with mushy vegetables, swimming in gravy that eats like soup, rather than the thick, satisfying sauce pot pie should have. The crust is often cited as the biggest disappointment. Instead of the flaky, buttery pastry that makes pot pie special, you're getting what reviewers describe as dense, flavorless dough that feels more like a lid than an integral part of the dish. But here's what makes this particularly sad. Pot pie should be the ultimate comfort food. Rich, warming, satisfying. This version delivers none of those emotional or physical satisfactions while charging prices that suggest premium quality. Multiple food bloggers note that the cooking instructions don't work properly, often resulting in burnt edges and cold centers or overcooked filling with soggy crust. You're getting a product that's difficult to prepare properly even when you follow the directions exactly. For the same price, you could buy ingredients to make actual pot pie or find frozen alternatives that understand what comfort food should taste like. Number 6. Kirkland Signature Chicken Bakes, Frozen, the food court imposter. Kirkland Signature Frozen Chicken Bakes claim the 6th spot by proving that sometimes trying to recreate magic at home just highlights what made the original special. At $12 to $15 per box, these promise to deliver the beloved Costco food court experience in your own kitchen. Those massive, satisfying chicken bakes that have cult followings among Costco members. But here's the disappointment that'll make you appreciate the food court version. Taste tests consistently rank frozen chicken bakes as inferior to the fresh food court version, with inconsistent crust an off flavor that suggests something gets lost in the freezing and reheating process. The texture is the biggest issue. The crust that's perfectly crispy and chewy at the food court becomes either soggy or overly hard when prepared at home. The chicken filling often heats unevenly, creating hot spots and cold spots that ruin the eating experience. But here's what makes this particularly frustrating. Costco's food court chicken bakes are genuinely good. The frozen version feels like a pale imitation that trades on the reputation of the original while delivering a completely different than inferior product. Multiple reviewers note that these consistently rank last among Kirkland frozen meals, which is saying something considering Kirkland's generally strong reputation for quality. You're paying for the Kirkland name while getting a product that doesn't live up to Kirkland standards. The irony is that you could just buy a fresh chicken bake from the food court for less money and get the actual experience you're craving, instead of this frozen approximation. Before we reveal the top 5 Costco frozen dinners that are actually worth your money, I want to thank you for watching this far. If you're finding this Costco investigation helpful, do me a huge favor and hit that like button. It'll really help us out and genuinely helps more people discover these warehouse deep dives. And if you're the kind of person who wants to know which Costco products are actually worth those membership fees, subscribe. Because we've got plenty more Costco investigations coming your way. Trust me, the top 5 are going to change how you shop that freezer section. Number 5. Beef stuffed peppers, the balanced winner. Beef stuffed peppers take the 5th spot by proving that sometimes the healthier option is also the more delicious option. At $16 to $20 per tray, these deliver what nutritionists call a balanced plate. Real beef, actual vegetables, and reasonable calorie counts without sacrificing the flavors that make comfort food satisfying. Professional taste tests consistently rate these 8.5 out of 10, with Good Housekeeping specifically praising them for authentic flavors that taste like something you'd make at home if you had the time and energy. The beef is properly seasoned, the peppers maintain their texture, and the filling has enough complexity to keep things interesting. What sets these apart from typical frozen dinners is the nutrition profile. You're getting substantial protein, actual vegetables, and fiber without the sodium overload that plagues most convenience foods. Dietitians consistently highlight these as one of the few frozen meals that delivers both convenience and genuine nutrition. But here's what makes these genuinely special. They taste like real food rather than processed food that happens to be convenient. The flavors develop properly during cooking, the textures work together, and the overall experience feels satisfying rather than just filling. The consistency across different batches and cooking methods is excellent, which means you can rely on these for weeknight dinners without worrying about quality roulette. You're getting restaurant-quality stuffed peppers that provide actual nutrition and genuine satisfaction, a rare combination in the frozen food world. Number 4. Meatloaf and mashed potatoes, the comfort classic. Meatloaf and mashed potatoes earn the 4th spot by delivering exactly what comfort food should be: familiar, satisfying, and executed with competence that makes you forget it came from a freezer. At $14 to $18 per tray, this represents classic American comfort food done right. The meatloaf holds together properly, has actual seasoning that enhances rather than masks the meat flavor, and the mashed potatoes taste like potatoes instead of reconstituted powder. Multiple taste tests praise this for homey savoriness, noting that it's one of the few frozen meals that delivers consistent quality across different Costco locations. You're getting the kind of meal that satisfies both kids and adults without requiring any apologies or explanations. What makes this special is the execution of fundamentals. The meatloaf has proper texture and seasoning. The mashed potatoes are creamy without being artificial, and the overall combination creates that comfort food satisfaction that makes weeknight dinners feel less like survival and more like actual meals. The portion sizing is generous without being overwhelming, and the cooking instructions actually work, producing evenly heated food that looks and tastes like the packaging promises. You're getting dependable comfort food that proves frozen dinners don't have to be a compromise when the basics are executed properly. Number 3. Salmon with basil pesto butter, the elevated choice. Salmon with basil pesto butter takes the bronze medal by proving that Costco can compete with restaurants when they focus on quality ingredients and proper preparation. At $20 to $25 per tray, this delivers what food critics consistently rate as 9 out of 10. Properly portioned salmon with pesto butter that adds genuine flavor complexity without overwhelming the fish. Tasting Table specifically describes this as elevated, noting that it feels like a meal you'd order at a casual restaurant. What makes this genuinely impressive is the cooking execution. The salmon cooks evenly, the pesto butter doesn't separate or become greasy, and the final result looks as good as it tastes. This is frozen food that doesn't apologize for being frozen. Professional reviewers consistently praise this for restaurant quality results, noting that the salmon maintains its texture and the pesto butter creates layers of flavor that develop as you eat. You're getting the kind of meal that makes frozen dinners feel like a smart choice rather than a compromise. The ingredient quality is noticeably higher than typical frozen meals. Real salmon, actual basil pesto, and butter that enhances rather than masks the fish flavor. This tastes like someone who knows how to cook designed the recipe. You're getting fine dining execution with convenient store accessibility, proving that frozen food can be both sophisticated and satisfying. Number 2. Enchilada bake with rotisserie chicken, the family favorite. Enchilada bake with rotisserie chicken claims the silver medal by being genuinely better than what most people could make at home. It uses Costco's famous rotisserie chicken as the foundation for something special. At $16 to $20 per tray, this starts with an ingredient that's already proven delicious and builds around it with proper cheese-to-sauce ratios, spice levels that satisfy adults without overwhelming kids, and execution that actually improves when reheated as leftovers. This consistently ranks 9 out of 10 in taste tests and has achieved what food bloggers call cult status among Costco shoppers. Reddit users regularly post about buying multiple trays to freeze, and it's become the go-to solution for busy weeknight dinners. What makes this genuinely special is the flavor development. The spices are complex enough to be interesting. The cheese melts properly without becoming greasy. And the overall combination creates that satisfying Mexican comfort food experience that keeps families coming back. The portion size feeds a family generously. The cooking instructions are foolproof, and somehow this actually gets better over time. Leftover enchilada bake often tastes better than the original serving. You're getting big, bold flavors that satisfy everyone from picky kids to adults who actually care about food quality. Number 1. Chicken Alfredo with penne, the undisputed champion. Taking the top spot is Chicken Alfredo with penne, which represents the gold standard for what Costco frozen dinners can achieve when they focus on execution over innovation. At $18 to $22 per tray, this succeeds because it focuses on doing classic comfort food perfectly rather than trying to reinvent anything. The Alfredo sauce is creamy without being greasy. The chicken is tender and properly seasoned, and the pasta cooks to perfect texture every single time. Professional taste tests consistently rate this 9 to 10 out of 10, with all recipes calling it reliable comfort food that even food critics admit they'd buy for their own families. This is the frozen dinner that makes other frozen dinners look like they're not even trying. What sets this apart is consistency. Whether you buy it in California or Connecticut, whether you cook it on Tuesday or Saturday, you get the same restaurant-quality Alfredo that costs less per serving than most takeout while feeding 6 to 8 people generously. The flavor profile hits that perfect comfort food sweet spot, rich enough to feel indulgent, familiar enough to satisfy everyone, and executed well enough that you forget it came from a freezer. No weird aftertaste. No artificial flavors, no disappointing surprises. Multiple food publications call this the benchmark for frozen pasta dishes. noting that it delivers exactly what you hope it will every single time. The sauce doesn't separate, the chicken doesn't dry out, and the pasta maintains proper texture throughout the cooking process. Chicken alfredo with penne proves that frozen dinners don't have to be a compromise between convenience and quality. When done right, they can be both convenient and genuinely satisfying. After 3 weeks of Costco frozen dinner investigation, here's what I learned. The difference between good and bad frozen dinners isn't just about price or convenience. It's about whether a company treats frozen food as a way to dispose of cheap ingredients or as a legitimate cooking method that deserves quality ingredients and proper technique. The worst Costco frozen dinners fail because they prioritize shelf stability over flavor, use excessive sodium to mask poor ingredient quality, or try to recreate complex dishes that don't translate well to freezer to oven preparation. The best Costco frozen dinners succeed because they focus on comfort food classics, use quality ingredients like their famous rotisserie chicken, and understand that frozen food should taste like food, not like frozen food. Your freezer space is valuable, and your family dinner time is precious. Don't waste either on frozen meals that disappoint everyone and leave you ordering pizza as backup. Stick to the Costco frozen dinners that have earned their reputation through actual quality rather than just bulk pricing. The next time you're navigating that massive freezer section, remember this ranking. Sometimes the most expensive tray contains the most disappointing dinner, while the classics that look boring on the outside deliver the most satisfying meals. If this investigation helped you become a smarter Costco shopper, hit that subscribe button. We've got plenty more warehouse deep dives that'll change how you use that membership.